Broken to Brave, episode 12, number 14, gave a keynote address. I have a friend who has a camper that she keeps permanently in a really nice campground in Wisconsin. She has been letting us use it whenever we want. It has become my little sanctuary and my place of healing. I journal, pray, meditate, read, walk, and just get quiet when I'm there. One night I went for a walk and I got the message that I was to be the keynote speaker at our upcoming Women in Podcasting Festival. I don't do public speaking. When I've tried, I've cried. I just knew that this was something that I was going to have to push through. I needed to do this. I called Rob and asked him to come meet me. When I told him, he just looked at me in amazement and said, "I've been praying you'd realize." I told him not to talk to me about it. I was so afraid that I would change my mind. I wrote the message, asked friends for advice on how to push through the fear the day of the event, and listened to 2 songs on repeat that gave me courage. Brave by Sarah Bareilles and Brave by Nicole Nordeman. I was beyond terrified to tell the parts of my story that I was planning on sharing. I had never in my life used my voice in such a public way. This was personal. This wasn't me talking about a TV show on a podcast. This was real and intimate and raw. I got up there and told the truth and stumbled and struggled, but I got up there and I did it. And it was terrifying, and it didn't get easier as I went along. I never got comfortable. I never felt like I was in the flow or in the zone. I simply endured it. I'm not cut out to be a public speaker in that way. I love to be interviewed, and I can do public speaking like this on a podcast where there's a buffer between me and the faces watching me. But I don't ever want to do a keynote address ever again. Do I regret it? No way. It's important to try things and figure out if it's fear that's blocking you, or maybe it's just how you're wired. Rob can get up in front of any size audience and talk about most topics without any prep or warning. He is absolutely wired to be a teacher and a public speaker and a game show host. And I'm absolutely not. I can write, I can talk, but I cannot eloquently express myself on stage in front of an audience. I can't memorize even one line of anything. It's okay to try things and learn that you aren't wired that way. It's okay to say, I appreciate you inviting me to speak at blank, but I prefer interview style. Would someone be willing to interview me instead? It's okay to know what your skill set is and to ask for the ways that would help you be the most successful at getting your message out. Regardless of my stumbling, I got the words out and I survived. Sometimes bravery is using your voice for the first time. Episodes of Broken to Brave are released every Tuesday and Thursday. Thank you so much for listening and for joining me on this journey of healing and growth. If you want to go deeper into this story and hear it from a spouse's perspective, my husband and I have a Patreon-only show where we have an extended, behind-the-scenes discussion of every episode, which also posts twice a week. Here's a sample of our latest Patreon-only companion podcast.
Just taking the stigma away from so many of the topics that are important to women and saying, who's stopping us?
Right.
We're stopping us.
Right.
At this point, we have a platform.
Right.
Anybody can podcast.
And the thing is, the men who are stopping it, the men that can all, first of all, they can all shut up.
Yeah.
Second of all, you're only giving them the power to do it at this point.
Exactly.
They look like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
They are, they're the ones that, I don't say they should be shamed out of it, but they need to be awakened to this.
Yes.
This is a real problem in society.
Yeah.
And it's like that power shift. It's like there doesn't need to be a power shift. There needs to be a taking away of power.
Yeah. There needs to be an uprising from all the women who say, I'm not letting them have my voice anymore. I'm not letting them silence me. I'm not, but see, I'm not
and
even.
as a male, I'm not threatened by that at all. I just go, yeah, you should have absolutely your voice. I don't see why you wouldn't.
Now, okay, so I don't necessarily believe that we're being silenced at this point as much as we're we're silencing ourselves.
Right.
We've been trained enough to silence ourselves. But our daughter, Molly, has a podcast about books, and she interviewed Sandy King Carpenter, who is a very powerful woman in Hollywood, and in the comic book world.
Right.
And she, Molly asked her, this woman is I believe she's 70 or right around there.
Yeah.
And Molly asked her, you've been in this industry for a long time. And, do you feel that, you're hindered by being a female in this industry or something like that? I can't remember the exact question. And Sandy said to her, I was raised by an aunt who was a CEO of a company, and I can't remember who else was powerful in her world, but she said, I didn't know that it wasn't acceptable. I didn't know. And she's like, so I just took it. And that was back in those decades where women were really held down much more even than now.
But it wasn't in her world.
So she took it. She just took what she felt she was
right.
She had a right to. And she never saw it. She said, I wasn't held down. I wasn't because I didn't know I didn't know that.
And think about it. If you think about knowing her, because we've talked to her.
Yeah.
She's married to John Carpenter, the legendary director.
To hear the rest of this episode and get other exclusives, become a patron to Broken to Brave at patreon.com. You can also follow my blog at brokentobrave.com for even more insights and engaging content. Links are in the show notes. Broken to Brave is a production of Southgate Media Group, hosted and written by me, Martha Southgate. Thank you so much for listening. Now go do something brave.